YouTube. Ladles and jelly spoons. Welcome to Truth, Love, and Peace. Hey, this is episode number 52. That's Cal Kingry. Thank you so much. I'm going to shake your hand again.
Absolutely,
Cheers.
Man. Cheers. Caffeine
and nicotine. My pipe is somewhere back there. We are sitting in the place I see you most often.
Yes.
The parking lot of the Pack and Ship. The Perdido Key Pack and Ship, which is right over there. I'm not spinning the camera around. Deal with it. The people in the podcast can't see it. Neither can you, YouTube. Fuck off. Anyway, we were just talking about how living next to something phenomenal, spectacular, plays a role. And I've always said that about the Gulf, that there's something with being in front of something that's awe-inspiring. It is a good place to live.
Yeah, people, usually population, people are always on the coast or they're up in the mountains or, I even find, never been in pictures of the high desert and stuff like that to be beautiful, and then we take ownership of it too, that's our Gulf.
Yeah.
Like when the whole BP thing happened, that was we took personal, and you're screwing with our shit now, you know what I mean?
Backyard, man.
Yeah.
Backyard.
Literally.
People over in Britain making decisions about shrimp. Fuck you, bastards.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no, that was terrible. And then the guy, 4 months later, after he was getting hounding, he was someone caught him saying, he was like, can I just get my life back? And we're like, motherfucker, you get your life back?
Yeah, and then he got fired. What was his name again? He did. We don't.
Who cares?
Fuck him. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
He was pretentious in interviews. That's what I remember about him.
The BP Horizon.
Deepwater Horizon.
Deepwater. That was 2012?
No, it must have been, I think it was 09. Because I was working at the Point back in the kitchen.
Yeah.
And I could have got a claim because that year it killed our business.
Oh, yeah?
I want to say it was 2010 when
Man.
Because I remember it going on, They couldn't get it capped.
Yeah. It took a while.
You gotta imagine how much pressure was pushing up, and they're trying to, I guess it's not just a simple, you can plug the drain or anything like that.
No, they had talked about shipping a bunch of explosives down in there and blowing it up, and then they had talked about different ways of plugging the hole.
American way.
Yeah,
just
set
blow
off
it
an
up.
explosion. It'll be
fine. They do it when oil wells on the surface catch fire.
Yeah. Have you ever seen those guys do that?
I saw it in There Will Be Blood.
Oh, it's so cool, isn't it?
Crazy. They're just a whole train of people with a big, giant, long stick and just boom! Which I guess I'm sure that's accurate.
Yeah,
I hope it is.
There's a Werner Herzog did a documentary about it. You can see these guys do it in the oil fields in Iraq, and they are crazy. You got to get right up next to this plume of fire. It's insane.
Because it's
cool stuff.
You got to knock all the oxygen out to keep it from catching on fire.
Right. So you still have an oil plume. It's just not alit.
Yeah.
It's like
That's insane.
It's like that experiment when they used sound to put fire out. GE did a commercial with it recently.
Really?
They cancel each other out.
That's interesting.
Right frequencies. It's just blowing on it really hard at a specific frequency.
Yeah, I guess, because there's a shockwave when it comes to sound.
Yeah, it's a wave. It moves.
You ever seen those videos about Iraq when they have artillery?
Yeah.
And from a long way away, you can just see it coming across the sand.
Yeah. That's scary shit. Like when you see a volcano erupt. I've been thinking a lot about volcanoes because what's going on in Hawaii, and they're saying it's going to erupt like Mount St. Helen did.
They think so?
Yeah, they think they really think it could.
That's crazy.
And when something like that blows up, the shock wave, just earthquakes and everything, just it's amazing. It's intense.
It is fucking.
Anyway, sorry, sent my mind reeling. Let's backtrack for a second because there are people who may not know who you are. Everybody that lives around this area, Perdido Key, knows who you are, and where to find you.
Probably.
But for those who don't, we first met hanging out at places like the Reef, and
we met at the Reef
forth.
once. The first time I really had a conversation with you was at the Bama.
Yep.
Started talking about. I don't know if theoretical physics is the word, but theoretical metaphysics probably.
Or theoretical bullshit. I'm good at that.
Yeah. Isn't all bullshit theoretical, though?
Yes. Exactly.
Accept it unless it's literally bullshit.
Exactly. Yeah, I love science, so we've done the science talk a couple of times.
Yeah.
I forget where it was that we first got into it, but it was always fun stuff like quantum mechanics and
which I know nothing about, but I like to think I have logic that can help. You know, I think the first time we talked about it, I was just hammered.
It's the common state of being up there.
Yeah.
These things happen.
It's getting more and more expensive to do so up there.
Is it?
Yeah. Don't go there. I
haven't.
I don't go there sober.
I haven't. I don't go there.
Bad idea, always.
Have fun if you do. I mean, good for you. I got my fill.
Yeah.
Got it in a hurry.
I'm probably close to getting and family in town, and so at night we'll just put the kids down and get someone to watch them. It's like my sister and my brother-in-law will just go out and tie one on. They're both pretty white collar, you know, so it's cool to see them let loose.
You could hang out in the backyard and have just as good a time.
Yeah.
I think.
Oh, we've done that too.
Saves some money, but for the people that hadn't been there, you got to go. You got to see it. You got to experience it. You know?
Yeah, that's
it's
true.
a spectacle for sure.
That is true. I mean, I'll never forget one time I was just the people, man. It's way too crowded. I know a bunch of people won't go up there because it's too crowded. Walk up there, I was smoking a cigarette and had a beer in my hand, and I had the beer down here and the cigarette, my arm raised straight above my head.
Oh man!
Because I didn't want to burn anybody, and I didn't want my beer knocked out of my hand. I was like, oh shit.
That's no fun at all.
No, it was not. It was not.
That's no fun at all. I'm not a big fan of crowds. It makes me very anxious. And these days, there's so few reasons for me to put the effort into controlling my anxiety that doing it for people who don't notice and don't care is not worth my time. Because it's an exercise in futility.
That's
I'm
a
only
really interesting way of looking at it. That really is. I've never thought about it that way before. I was thinking about more like the energy of the crowd, like ambient energy. Mm-hmm. We're getting into theoretical science now.
Go for it.
So, you and I have both seen a lot of live music. We've been in a room where the musicians are getting it, and there's no one in there.
True.
And the energy's kind of lower, but they're putting out the same amount of energy, the same amount of effort. There's just no one there to enjoy it. Versus the same musicians in that room, packed full of people who are there in jazz to see them and dancing. It's almost like, you know, hey, it's dead to say, it's said so many times, but it's like electricity's in the air.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
You know, like, I wonder if there is any science to back that up, like.
Well, yeah, the Matrix, you know, I'll cite the Matrix as proof of this one. You put that many D-cell batteries, or H-cell batteries in a room, human bodies, and they put off electricity. So yeah, there's definitely something to that. And then you got to think about all the chakras, and depending on how deep you want to go into mind and body, but the fact that everybody walks around and is thinking and feeling and involved, there's going to be a certain amount of energy in that for sure. Yeah. I think it has to do with focus, like what people are focused on.
Yeah.
So I think the most energetic moments and the ones that are the most fun are when everybody's on the same page. So like when the band finishes and it's just meh, those moments are just unfortunate, I think. But when the band finishes and the band and the audience are on the same page, then it doesn't ever go away. Like the audience just erupts into this whole other thing, and it's this back and forth between the audience and the band.
Oh,
that's when it's awesome.
And I like those better in small rooms. You know,
yeah.
Like I saw Drive-By at the Soul Kitchen.
What was that like?
Oh, it was incredible.
Yeah?
Drive-By Truckers are my favorite band, and I've seen them twice. First time was in the Vinyl. Killer. And the Soul Kitchen, it's like same size.
I've never been in there.
Really?
Yeah.
It's like wider than the Vinyl, and they got like little seats over here, and then there's a bar on that side, and there's a big bar in the middle. But like, I think that bar was open, but instead of the Vinyl it being long, everyone was like more pushed to the center and spread out, so you were like closer.
Cool.
You know, yeah, I was like 15 feet from Patterson. It was so awesome. And they're just blasting your face off with, you know, music, and that's, you know, the energy literally they're putting out, and then you know, the crowd putting out at the same time. You know, that's what rock shows are made of for sure.
I agree. I think that's one of the things that's great about artists bringing fans into the studio to record albums too, because you replicate a very close environment with a very tight-knit group of people that are all there to make and enjoy that music. So you get this feedback loop. It's easier to maintain that energy as opposed to just playing in a studio and
facing a mic or a wall.
It's a different thing. You know, they both have value, but it's a very different thing to have an audience to feed off of, I think.
Yeah. Oh, I definitely believe so. You know, because you hear some people, oh yeah, they're better live. You know, or and that could be because they're overproduced and all that stuff. But I honestly believe a lot of people are better live, especially if they choose to cut it like a live album.
Yeah.
Like, what's that? I don't know if you listen to Little Feat.
Yes.
That live album they cut that everyone listens to because it's their best one. You know, I'm sure. I don't know where it was cut. I was listening
stuck in my head. I can't have it.
Night. I was listening to it last night, and I have that vinyl.
Oh, nice.
And I got my girlfriend a record player for Christmas. She didn't have one, and I said, okay, these are our records now.
Yeah.
You know, and she took like some of them over to Mobile with her. And then I found that one in the stack. I was like, you need to listen to this. Like, she's like, I'll get around to it. I was like, no, you need to listen to that. You know, because they probably knew that, city they were in. Probably New Orleans, I have no idea. But they knew that crowd was going to dig them, right? Not like cherry-picked them. They're like, okay, we played there before. This is going to be awesome. Mm-hmm. You know, as opposed to, we're going to go to, Nebraska. A place we've never been to before and cut a live album. You know what I mean?
Some planning went into it.
Yeah, for sure. But it just made that magic, because that album is so great.
Yeah, that reminds me of like the last Waltz,
Oh, yeah.
A well-engineered.
It's almost sad to watch. It's great.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
but knowing they got back together later, I think makes it better.
Still, I look at What's His Nuts like he's a murderer.
Robbie Robertson?
Yeah, dude.
Oh, he's a... Yeah. Ah. You know what he did, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't know Scorsese directed that.
Yeah.
For the people who don't know, he buddied up to Martin Scorsese, who directed it, and he was singing on a dead mic because he actually couldn't sing. And so he made it seem like he was the lead guy in the band when he wasn't. So like over half the shots were on him, just mouthing the words while everyone else did all the work and made the great sounds.
Yeah.
And apparently Levon Helm, was so mad at him. Still died mad at him.
Yeah, and Levon never got the credit that he deserved for because Robbie swooped a bunch of rights, like songwriter rights, and everything out from under him. So there's a bunch of unfortunate stuff that makes The Last Waltz difficult to rewatch, but it's still the epitome of just epic concerts.
Oh my god!
And special guests.
Yeah,
just a who's who.
Neil Young comes out. Bob Dylan comes out. I believe. I didn't watch it in a few years, but yeah, man.
Everybody, such a good time.
Because they backed up everybody. I think they were backing Bob Dylan up when he did the "Play It Fucking Loud" incident.
Did they? I didn't know that.
Yeah, I think he turned around and said it to Levon because they backed him up. He turned around, "Play It Fucking Loud," and then walked off stage. That's great.
That's nice. Man,
great.
Yeah, good music. Tons of good music.
I think that in and of itself brings out back to our energy thing.
Yeah.
I remember one night I was leaving the bar and I was tired and all that stuff, and I put on Audio Slave. I started rocking out to Audio Slave. I was leaving Rockies. By the time I got back over here, I had to stop myself from going out to the sports bar because instead of being tired and like ready to go home, I was like, "Hell yeah, let's do it!" You know what I mean? Because I was just that pumped.
Yeah, it just gets you pumped up. It's I think that's what music does. It's that sinking into a rhythm, and there's certain rhythms that do certain things. But that makes sense. That goes back to chanting, and then that comes around. What's up, Robbie Holder? That comes back around full circle to the musicians feeding off the crowd, that vibration.
Yeah.
And then that's where it delves into the quantum physics realm and how you can connect everything, because once it's vibration on every level. So
yeah, for sure.
Those dots connect themselves pretty easily now.
You think they will, do you think one day, you mentioned chakras earlier and stuff like that, do you think over however many years, when people start to research this, that the more, and I don't want to use this word, but like Oh, well, I'm going to use spiritual. The more spiritual stuff, like chakras and, thoughts and positivity and stuff like that, you think that'll be discovered and accepted in the scientific canon eventually? Or you think that's something that is just...
I think it's already happening.
Really?
Yeah, I think it is. We're starting to see it already. I saw recently the correlation between the chakras and the colors that have historically been ascribed to the chakras. Just so happens those same colors are the frequencies that those particular lymph nodes resonate at.
Really?
Yeah. So
wow.
So long time ago, they had figured they knew shit we didn't know. People knew things that we didn't know, and science is getting there. We're starting to understand that electromagnetism plays a much bigger role in what's going on. We're starting to understand how our gut bacteria and the little parts of us.
Yeah, I think that one's very established. I mean, and that. I heard someone put it this way, like, yeah, you aren't eat if you eat nothing but cheeseburgers, and French fries, and I'm eating McDonald's while I'm reading that, and I'm like, damn it.
Yeah. It's hard for me to do anymore.
Really?
Yeah, I got to the point where I ate so much crappy food and abused my body for so long that now, because I've eaten a healthy diet occasionally, when I go back to not eating healthy, which I have done a lot of not eating healthy lately, I pay the price. Like, I can feel it. It really upsets my system, and I think part of that is because I'm aware of it, and the other part of it is because I abused my body for so long. It's like, really?
It's
still?
Like, dude, I thought we were past this. Fuck, man. For me, it's just convenience. You know what I mean?
That's a big part of it.
It's just convenience. I work 2 jobs. I work like 60 hours a week, and if I got an hour between job A and job B. Yeah. I'm on my way. There's Burger King right between them.
Right.
And I know I'm not going to have time to get something and cook, and there's nothing at the house, and I need to stop that and plan out. I did that for my girlfriend. I made her these, quinoa and grilled chicken and asparagus. I've eaten like 2 of them.
You need to come cook for me. Golly, that sounds
I went keto back in January.
Oh, yeah? How'd that go for you? What'd you think?
I lost 30 pounds.
Goodness gracious.
I really enjoyed it, yeah. And I enjoy how it makes me feel. And all
for people who don't know what keto is, give them your version. What did you learn? Share it with us.
I don't know the in-depth, and there's a lot of little tweaks, but my basic overview is, no carbs, no sugars. I just ate nothing but meat and vegetables. I do I love steak. Grilled chicken.
How about fruit?
Pork chops. I don't eat much fruit.
Okay. But would that be okay on a keto?
I don't. From what I understand, certain fruits more so than others because it's really higher in natural sugars.
Yes, it is. That's what I like about it.
Right. I had a cousin that was an interesting guy. I never met him, but he was living in a mountain outside of Rio that he built, and he was a fruitarian, and the guy was unhealthily thin. I don't know if he actually was. I saw pictures, and I'm like, that can't be good, man. The guy looks like he literally could blow away.
That's not
with a strong wind. And I was like, ugh, come on, man, you gotta get some proteins in there or something,
Yeah.
But no, I really enjoyed it. And what started me, I was lactose intolerant. Just all of a sudden happened. I'm 26, and my body said, okay, you're not doing dairy anymore.
I've heard that there are diseases that are being transmitted by ticks now that make people allergic to red meat. And I'm not sure about the lactose intolerance thing, but I know about the meat thing.
I know what you're talking about, and I've heard about that. And apparently, it's something even after you cure the disease, you don't go back from. Say I get bit by the tick and get the disease, and I find the tick, get it off me, cure the disease, I'm still allergic to red meat.
Right.
Which one would be god awful.
Yeah.
It's hard enough just not eating dairy. You don't realize how much cheese is in everything, and milk. And stuff like that. This has almond milk, and they know at Mojo's, and red meat. Gosh, I love steak too much. My favorite meal on the planet.
I do too, man. I need to bring this joke back. One of my favorite jokes is I love experimenting with vegetarianism. I just have yet to turn down the steak that comes after it.
Right.
I tried
doing
all
good,
the time.
You got some rice or some potatoes and some asparagus, and then the steak's just right there.
Yeah, man,
it's just right there.
If they ever forget to bring my steak, then I'll be vegetarian for a night by default.
Now, as a steak lover, let me ask you this:
Sure.
If you went to a restaurant, right? And I eat steak at least, this is bad to say, probably twice a week. I eat a lot more red meat. Now it's CDC classified as a carcinogen, and I'm a smoker. Cool. But it's going to be bad for me later. But do you think if you went down to a restaurant, right, if you went to Jackson's and ordered a steak, and then after the meal, do you think you could tell if it was lab grown or not?
No.
I don't know if I'd be able to either. And I wouldn't want anyone to tell me, like an A and B, because placebo effect messed my mind up.
Okay, so no is my gut reaction, but then as I start to think about it, I'm going to go with probably. Because I can tell...
We're not even moving. I'm wearing my seat.
You're allowed. It's good to be safe. It's good to be safe.
It feels weird sitting in a car without a seatbelt. Sometimes.
But I think I would be able to tell, because I can tell the difference between an additive-free beef patty and a legit hamburger. Like, I can tell just based on salt content and a few other taste profiles. Like, I can tell which one's which. But
they had so much stuff in there, though.
Yeah, and
like
so
the whole pink slime thing with the McDonald's. Yeah. And I ate McDonald's last week. I'm a hypocrite. I'll do it.
Yeah, me too, man. I got fucking McDonald's. I got a quarter pounder box right there.
Yeah.
Because I will gladly
eat that shit.
But I can tell the difference between, like, when I eat crappy food, my body tells me the difference. Not only do I taste the difference, but I can feel the difference in my stomach. So I think I'd be able to figure it out. Because I think there's so many things lacking from lab-grown meat, like the vibrations that go into the rest of that body. They talk about how you don't want to eat meat that's been traumatized or killed inhumanely. Hunters talk about not having a clean kill, or else it ruins the meat.
Yeah, and I didn't hear about this till recently. Someone was talking about the what are they called? Shock, not the shock hormones, but there's a response when your body goes into shock. That's why. Yeah, that's right. That's why they want to kill it quicker. Your body goes into shock; it releases bad things.
Yeah. I would imagine lactic acid and all the things that relate to survive, bitch.
Adrenaline.
Run. Not the kind of things that taste good. The kind of things that keep you alive.
Well, I think about, like, for example, I've gotten steaks from regular grocery stores, which I'm sure corn-fed, because we feed everything corn in this country because of the subsidies and trying to prop it up when we really shouldn't.
Monsanto.
Eat corn. See, they changed their name, and I don't know what their name is now. Is it
Bear? Bear bought Monsanto, and they're getting rid of... I know, even more terrifying, right?
That's
right?
Not good.
Not only is Monsanto hiding, but they got bought by one of the big pharma companies out there. So yeah, Bayer owns Monsanto now, and the name is going away. Monsanto's not going to be there anymore, but that's scary shit.
Suing farmers for the copyright infringement when it comes from cross-pollination.
Yeah.
And they'll ruin people. It's just for no good reason.
No, it's money. It's they're trying to make more money, which raises the question. I mean, capitalism looks like it's coming to a screeching halt, man. Democratic socialists elected in New York. There's a candidate from Hawaii in 2020
for years.
Yep.
I was a big supporter of him.
Yeah, Bernie, coming back around.
I hope
so.
But no one's talking about him in 2020. All the rumblings are on Joe Biden, which wouldn't be terrible.
No, Biden could
he's more of an establishment Democrat, but I do like him. As a person, I'd love to see after how Biden destroyed Paul Ryan in that debate. Dude, he treated him like he was it was like a college professor talking to an 8th grader. He'd be like, "Well, we did this." No, that's because just getting on his shit. I love to see it, and I can't wait to see him in a debate with Trump if that happens. I think it'd be great.
So what do you think about Well, hang on, let me press the button. Just a little reset button. So, backtrack, just to catch everybody up. You have a background in poli-sci, and yes. I have taken some rhetorical, political stuff, and we were talking about that earlier. So, for anybody that's curious, we're not just...
Yeah.
We had a political conversation before this that was very academic, and so that's where this is leaning. I guess that's what I'm trying to preface this as. But, yeah, so you were saying about Trump and those guys, and I was going to ask about these younger, the millennials, the girl that just got elected in Washington, New York. She's really young.
I haven't, I've only heard much about her lately, but from what I've seen, I like, it sucks. I'm an unabashed liberal, and I like, when liberals stand up for themselves, because that hasn't happened a lot lately. Mm-hmm. Bill Maher says all the time, when will liberals grow a spine? Yeah. And I think that comes with, they say, all those intellectual liberals, agendas and stuff like that. And I think truly smart people never want to take a hard position on anything, because they know they could be wrong. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And I do the same thing. How much bar talk I hear when I'm at work, people sitting at the bar about, I had this... Sorry, I'm going on a tangent.
Go for it. We got all day.
I had a lady the other day started talking about politics, and it ended with her drunkenly screaming about Marilyn Monroe.
Oh, wow.
Dude, it was a fucking trailer trash whore, dyed blonde hair, stay dead, you fucking whore, sucking the president's dick. Dude, I don't know where that came from.
She didn't even get all the good Marilyn stories then. Fuck her, like Marilyn. Anyway, go ahead. We'll put a pin in that. We'll come back to Marilyn Monroe, JFK.
Yeah.
So you hear some crazy shit at the bar.
There's some crazy shit at the bar. But no, back to the liberals. I want to see one really get on people's shit. And I'd like to see more people take a stand, be strong about it. Say no, figuratively or literally go fuck yourself. I think you're a bigot for saying that people shouldn't be able to, deny or should be able to deny service to gay people. That's fucking bigotry. Fuck you. That's wrong. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And be secure in where they hold their morals.
Morals. I think that's where we're headed.
Yeah.
There's a lot of going along with certain lies or half-truths just to maintain the status quo. That's something that I think we are just seeing way through. Like, the waters have gotten so muddy, and it's gotten so bad, and so many people are lying, and so many people are spineless, that it's just so easy to see it now.
We'll see.
There's calling bullshit left and right,
Oh, yeah. Well, I think they're very clear, actually, in that aspect. So, I saw a counter the other day, and I actually looked this up. Trump's told literally thousands of lies.
I know, right?
Literally lied. Over, it's like 3,000 times. To the American people, just straight up lying.
Yeah.
Straight up fucking lying. And so, but now, due to the age of information, the internet, and the resources, we have the ability to call that. I've had conversations with people that say, well, did this happen? I go, no, that's actually not true.
Right.
Well, yeah, it is. No, it's not. I can show you the evidence to the contrary right now. But another thing is, because discourse got so quick and so rapid fire, facts are often left to the wayside and not cited. Right? When I have a degree in political science, one of the main things they teach you in political science research is know your sources, cite your sources. Make sure those sources are valid. Yeah. Right? I don't believe anything from conservativereport.com, just like I don't, I'm not going to hold much credence to liberaldaily.com. You know what I mean? That's going to be on one side or the other. It's going to be skewed. Mm-hmm. Now, read both of them, and the truth is often somewhere in the middle, But,
exactly.
And people just don't cite their sources. They see things and share them and all that stuff, and just keep on throwing it. The bad thing is that sways people's opinions.
It does. It does. Well, and it gives people wiggle room, to to not take a hard position, but to pretend to be joking about things, and then that becomes misconstrued, and then that becomes a lie in and of itself, because someone can toss out something there, and this gets kind of touchy, but people will post something and then they'll take flack for it, and then they'll turn around and say, well, I was making fun of it too. And they're like, well, no you didn't specify. Like, you were very clearly wink, wink, nudge, nudging it. And that's what bugs me. Like, all this wink, wink, nudge, nudge bullshit is like, well, we know what's going on here. And people that can't call a spade really, really bug me. And you mentioned the lie thing. And that's what gets me. Like, I don't care what your political position on the, trade agreements are. Like, let's talk about what's good for the ethical standards of the country. Let's start by telling the truth, and then we figure out what the facts are, and then we go from there. Exactly. It's all this sound bite.
They want that little takedown bite.
Yeah. And the truth will come out later, and they'll go, oh, well, we were wrong. But in the moment, in the heat of anger,
well, it's like
we insulted a bunch of people.
When Obama had the debate with Romney.
Yeah.
And the moderator, Romney said something that was wrong. Mm-hmm. The moderator goes, no, actually, Governor, he is correct.
Yeah.
And people were saying, that's not her place to correct him. Whose place is it then?
Right,
it's
you can't
the truth.
Just toss out lies.
Exactly.
Somebody's got to call you.
But what really scares me more than anything, man, and so this is getting big picture, little picture, but like,
go for it.
Any system doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
Any system with established rules doesn't work unless everyone in that system playing the game abides by those rules.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm really scared about seeing with this. Like, for example, Trump's had administration officials that did break ethics rules.
Yeah.
100%. Like, Kellyanne Conway did it. Sarah Huckabee Sanders did it. Like, literally, black and white broke the rules. Where's the recompense on the other side for that? You know what I mean? Like, what are the consequences?
Mm-hmm.
When you have these, like, for example, earlier this year, the House and the Senate both passed tariffs on Russia, and the president just ignored it.
Yeah, I remember that.
That is a constitutional crisis. You have to play by those rules, whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
And when people don't do that, I think that gets really scary, for really everything. For our society as fabric as a whole, you know what I mean? Like, if we're driving down the road and I just don't give a shit to stay in my lane or not, that's going to fuck things up just because I'm not playing by the rules that we all agree to.
Yeah. And when the agreement to the rules has become a fabrication and that we're just going along with for face value's sake, it's even more detrimental. Like, it's the same thing. Well, I'll take it even smaller picture for you. The Southern politeness and Southern hospitality, like the whole caveat of bless her heart, undermines everything that is Southern hospitality, because just because you've got a polite way of being an asshole doesn't make you any less of an asshole.
Exactly. Yeah. 100%.
And the
I'm like more open about myself being an asshole.
I think it's one of the reasons I get in trouble so often, or people get upset with me, is because I've got no problem going, well, rule number 1, don't be a dick. And if you break rule number 1, then I have no qualms telling you about it. And it's something it's the morals and the ethics that concern me more than anything, because if we don't all agree that we stand for something, and I keep trying to get back to in my head the lies that we all go along with to prop things up. Does that make sense? I feel like I'm not explaining myself on that one. I can't get past it for some reason.
That we all make up to prop things up.
But like, there's certain things that we all just go along with that in the mud. Moving on. Anyway.
No, I got something on that.
Hypocrisy is what it comes down to.
Yeah.
Is if you're going to be a liar, don't be a blatant liar, and don't be a hypocrite. That just blows me more than anything.
Yeah.
These people that are okay with, well, it's okay if I do it, it's not okay if you do it. Like the obvious nature of who is gaining and who is not gaining in our country should terrify everybody. Like,
oh yeah, man, and I see it blatantly, and I hope other people do as well. I'm not gonna say I don't see how other people don't, but just the divide between the wealthy and everybody else.
Yeah.
Numbers wise, it's getting so much worse. And even like, you know, look at, I'm a millennial. The tropes of my generation, you know, when I was growing up as a kid, you always saw a 26-year-old guy living at his mom's house.
Yeah.
You're a fucking deadbeat. What's wrong with him, right? I'll tell adults to this day, yeah, I live with my mom. They're like, oh, awesome. Don't ever move out. Don't ever pay rent. Like, they're like, hell yeah, good for you. That's a good move. That's smart.
Right.
You know what I mean? And where the hell did that go? Because the economy's so bad. People can't afford anything.
It's horrible.
You know, access to capital is so low for people who don't have it. Mm-hmm. You know?
And people that want to have a conversation and try and force home these points based on sound bites but don't see the bigger picture are very frustrating, because like you said, you can find information if you go looking for it. But like the argument that the economy, like what's going on with the economy right now, lowest numbers and blah 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 blah, I mean, like, you can hear that and instantly know you're not taking into account the rest of these numbers, or there's pieces of that argument that are missing just from hearing it. Like, yeah, but what about all the millions of people that have just left the job force, like left the workforce and aren't even looking for jobs? That's at an all-time high. And people want to pick, like, cherry pick these points.
Yeah, well, see, what I heard, I don't know if this is true, and you know, this is me being a hypocrite on that, but I have heard somewhere that
see how easy I get flustered.
They get the unemployment numbers not by number of jobs versus number of citizens. They get it by people drawing unemployment.
Yeah.
Right? And what they don't talk about is, you know, the more they make it harder to get unemployment, the lower unemployment is going to be, and they're like, oh, the economy's doing great. Yeah. You know, whereas really you just have more people who are destitute. You know.
And what bugs me is this, the tit for tat back and forth about so-and-so voted against vets. That was the one that came up recently. And so that's the headline, and that's what people see, is that so-and-so voted against a bill that was beneficial for vets.
Oh, it was Bernie Sanders.
But what they don't show you is on the other side of that is the reason they didn't vote for that is because the benefits for vets would have come at the expense of the $2.9 trillion Social Security surplus.
Well, and so
like,
the other thing they don't tell you is, it's again, it's people not playing by the rules. So they're like 2 or 3, I didn't do great in legislative process class, so forgive me, but there are
it's okay.
2 or 3 rules so people can submit a bill. And one of them is it germane, which means or an amendment to a bill, is that amendment germane? Is it relevant to what the rest of that bill is? You'll have, like, you know, they did it with a farm bill, and they got amendments.
The bridge to nowhere.
Yeah, cutting Social Security and shit like that. And it's like, how is that germane to the farm? Come on, man.
Yeah.
You know, and what I think, you know, so-and-so voted against vets. I think it was Bernie Sanders. People were calling him on, and he goes, no. What they didn't tell you was that there was an amendment that was going to screw over a lake in Minnesota, you know, or something like that, you know? And it just, they don't play by the damn rules.
Yeah.
That's not the rules.
Instead of,
it's frustrating.
And it's one of the things that I'm a big advocate of, rewrite the whole thing. Like, it's time for us to strip it down and start over. Maybe not in principle, but in word. Even the best of us, Jefferson and founding fathers, some of them even agreed that every generation has the right to own the terminology of the law of the land.
Oh yeah, they called for a 20-year rewrite. Mm-hmm. Every 20 years to rewrite it. And
I've been citing that left and right lately.
Oh yeah, you know, they were brilliant guys. Jefferson was hilarious, but he was a brilliant guy. But what scares me nowadays is, right, so when you see Citizens United's got to go. I don't think corporations should be able to donate money to political candidates. No, not at all. Money ever donated to a political candidate doesn't have strings attached.
Right.
And so when you have the foxes running the hen house, when it comes to corporations, that's what I think the real evil is. It's not government. It's not people who want power. It's companies who want power.
Well, now it's the corporatocracy.
Exactly.
If the corporations didn't have so much power in government, if we weren't an oligarchy, we'd all be a lot better off. I agree. Go ahead.
You know, but sorry. And so that's what scares me about rewriting the Constitution, because who would get the say?
Yeah, who gets the pen?
You know what I mean? It wouldn't be me and you, because we don't got that deep pockets in there.
No, it'd be the Koch brothers.
Yeah, exactly. It'd be the Koch brothers. It'd be the cast that run GE. You know, it'd be fucking Jeff Bezos' I brought this up to somebody the other day. I go, man, if he was in the 20s, he'd be considered a robber baron. Because, like, literally, you hear reports about people are having to take vacation time to go take a pee while they're on the clock, and, like, living in tents outside because they, work so many hours and destroying their bodies. And I'm like, man, stop. How can anyone see that and not, like, where are our labor laws? These are places in the United States.
Yeah.
Yeah. And whereas he makes $28,000 every 10 seconds or something stupid like that. Like it's.
And did you see the Supreme Court upheld a knock against the unions?
Yeah.
Recently. I think empires fall apart. Retiring. Yeah. But governments are designed to collapse because they can't. There's no way that, especially not now in this transition of the information age, that our government is going to keep up. Like, it's going to stumble and implode before it could ever get to the point where, I don't know, I think people our age or your age or a generation younger than you would even think, like, who the fuck wrote this shit? Like, like, what is this crap? The Teletubbies could have done better than this. And I think we're quickly getting there. And the information age, I hope, is going to expose a lot of that stuff and make it very obvious. It's beginning to make it very obvious to a lot of people that most of it's just bullshit. Like, the bullshit's gotten real deep.
The bullshit's gotten deep, man. But I think the original Constitution is a brilliant document for the time and for what it was and for what it was managing. Sure. I mean, oh my God, those guys. Imagine the balls, right? That'd be like, let's say me and you are in, let's say we're in American Samoa, and we're sending a lot of money back in the United States. They start doing some hinky shit. We're like, you know what? Fuck you. We're gonna go to war with the United States of America. Imagine how crazy that sounds now. That's how crazy it sounded to go to war with England back then. Mm-hmm. Those cats were badasses. They had big brass balls. Washington was getting his ass kicked. He only won like 3 out of like 9 battles, major battles he was ever in. And he kept an army in the field, and they were starving. He's like, "Cause we got to do this, or it's going to look bad if we just go home for a month." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
well, he met that alien in the woods.
Yeah.
Did you hear that story?
No.
No?
What?
Oh, yeah. Washington met an alien in the woods. It's fairly well documented, too, even in one of his journals. During the shithole winter, like while
everyone was dying.
Yeah. So he wanders off into the woods, and he has this encounter and this meeting, and they're like, no, you got to stay the course. Like, you got to do the thing. It's going to be okay, and yada, yada, yada. And, of course, you can listen to the Ancient Aliens version of that and get all kinds of craziness from it.
I don't trust that guy.
Have you seen his hair?
Ancient Aliens guy.
Yeah, I don't trust him either. But
he's slowly getting abducted. No, I don't trust him. You can't trust a guy like that. Come on.
No, but man. Washington's journals and there are other sources at the time that say there was something hinky that happened in the Grove. That Washington went and had this little powwow, and he came back with information and some shit, which is cool. But I think that speaks to another point about how history. We just know so little about history, and we're taught so little about history and an accurate history. Yeah. That the more and more people are starting to see it now. Hopefully, it will benefit crazy people in the future. I hope.
That whole idiom, those who don't study history are doomed to repeat it. Yeah. And I don't know about that. But maybe, you know what I mean? Like, I don't necessarily agree with everyone who says Trump's going to be like Hitler and they're going to be like Nazis and all that stuff. But it is unsettling to me that Nazis are back. We know for a fact they're back. Yeah. They call themselves Nazis, and that is scary. That whole Charlottesville thing. What the fuck? That was scary. Yeah. People were, first of all, it was really scary that there were a bunch of white people in white robes marching for white people, and it was hilarious that they're using goddamn tiki torches. Anyways, but that was scary, and I think as a society we should have seen that and taken a step back and say, hey, wait, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Another thing that's crazy is growing up in the South, you realize racism ain't dead.
Right?
Racism ain't dead. How many people have you known? Right? So are you from here?
I grew up in Mobile.
In Mobile. Okay. Even better. Even better.
Yeah.
I'm in Florida, people that tell me racism isn't real,
I'm just like, you don't fucking know.
You've known people for a while, grown up around certain people, and all of a sudden, you know, you get together and you have a few beers, all of a sudden, well, and they'll just drop the M-bomb and say, they're the problem, you know, go back to Africa, and you're like, God, I've known you for 20 years.
How long? Yeah.
Fuck. You know, like...
It's terrifying. It's terrifying.
That happened at least once every 6 months, which is the sad thing.
Yeah, and I think that's a lot of what's going on now. It's one of the reasons that Jefferson wrote down and called for that 19-20-year rewrite, is because we have 70-year-olds in charge of a government and dictating a future, literally dictating a future to people who are 3 generations.
Dude, I was at
2 generations younger than them.
I was at a gun
ridiculous.
store. I was at a gun store one time, and I was in high school. We were going, me and buddy were going looking at shotguns so we can go hunt or something.
Yeah.
Which sounds as redneck as it is, but I was wearing a hoodie. Said,
that's Walmart these days.
This can't be a high school on it, right?
Yeah.
And I was in a gun store. Me and my buddy, and the guy goes, "Oh, y'all go to Escambia?" And he goes, "Yeah." He goes, "Yeah, we graduated back when they were the rebels, right?" People who don't know, my high school in the early to mid, even late 70s, had a bunch of race riots and all that stuff because its mascot used to be the Rebels.
What?
They were the Escambia High School Rebels. The mascot was a Union soldier carrying a rebel flag, and their fight song was Dixie. And then a riot happened at a football game, and the black people got pissed, and I know why. I get it, you know. Riots, KKKs were involved in all that stuff. Anyway, then after they integrated, it was even worse. Anyways, and the guy goes, "Yeah, I went there back when we were the rebels. All the seniors used to get out of class early at the end of the day and just go sit there and throw rocks at all the black people." And he didn't use the term black people. He used the other one. And I'm just sitting there going, oh my God. And then my second thought was, this guy votes.
Oh, God.
And who do you think he's going to vote for?
Yeah.
Not some fucking liberal. You know, it's shit like that scares me. But time also I get a little bit of solace in that time's going to fix that. And things are going to progress, I hope. But I just hope his child doesn't have the same mindset he does. Hope not. But it's 50-50 because he did raise that child. You know, so...
But it's like you said, man, like, fucking Nazis are back. Like, how... Everybody says, we fought a war over this. How is this a thing?
Yeah, what the fuck?
Like, we figured this one out already. God damn. But I think that's the moral conundrum. We've gotten so removed, and that's where I think we're struggling to get back around the curve, is we've gotten this social media, we've gotten into this alone together thing where because of our screens, we can be alone and we can be in a group of people, but somehow that disconnects us emotionally, and so ethically we have no responsibility to each other, and so communities have fallen apart, families are falling apart, and that maybe this should be the new metric, is the fact that the pervasiveness and the divisiveness has gotten so bad that it can interrupt the family unit, which should be the cornerstone of any, I don't know, ethical network, moral network. Community is the bedrock of virtue, right?
100%.
So,
well, you know what, and to that point, talking about we're alone together. There are people I've known that when I see them in person rarely. I know them. Mm-hmm. We're on a first name basis. Then I'll see what they post on Facebook, and I'm like, oh my God, I don't even want to be around this guy.
Right? No, I know. I've been there.
You know a few of them, I'm sure. And then I end up having a political conversation with one of them, and I've told him, I said, yes, I'm very liberal, and he's not diametrically opposed to me. Mm-hmm. But I do enjoy our conversations because neither of us are trashing the other person. I'll say, well, don't you think that maybe this could be a good idea? And he's like, well, maybe, but here's the other side of that, and we'll just go back and forth, but it's never a fuck you argument, which is, he gets on Facebook and says fuck you to everything, you know what I mean? And that one actually, it gave me a little bit of hope. I'm like, oh, cool. That was a good conversation, Well, keep it local, that's the key. Local politics is the key.
And it also makes it very difficult for for people to be bullies in real life.
Yes.
Because when people get on Facebook, and you're way more polite than I am. Because I think when people get on Facebook, they're looking for an argument. You know, when people come to me
I love
present
seeing you interact on Facebook. I love it. I fucking love it.
I don't play nice.
No.
I don't play fair, and I go for the jugular. I argue on Facebook the same way I fight. Like, if you want to take a shot, it's coming back. It's coming back tenfold. And I don't throw stuff out there because I think I'm wrong or inaccurate. And I over respond on Facebook intentionally, because whoever comes and wants to pick a fight with me and argue over something is not making a point. They're just arguing.
Yeah.
And so I'm not going to try and convince them. I am going to go so far past them that the people that are still on the fence are overwhelmingly persuaded to not agree with that person.
Yeah.
That's the whole goal there. And so people that want to be bullies and want to argue on, you know, and be ignorant and yet impose an opinion, it's laughable. Like, I get worked up about it sometimes, partially because it's good practice and partially because I care and have empathy for people, and then partially it's just fucking hilarious to see how dumb some people are.
Oh my God. Well, see, my thing is, you know, if you...
Sorry, I try to be a good person, but I'm not.
No, I think that is a good person, because if I see somebody that goes on Facebook and says, you know, faggots are the reason why, you know, this is wrong with the country, and no, I want you to know that makes you a bad person.
Yeah.
I want you to know that is not okay. Well, that's just my opinion. No, not all opinions are created equal.
Right.
If your opinion that people I know that are gay and that were born that way are not, you know, real people,
Yeah.
then you're wrong.
Yeah.
That opinion is wrong.
Sorry.
You know, and I would really like to see other people than me just let her rip. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it always comes in, like I said, 90% of my interaction with people is when I'm working.
Yeah.
And I don't get into it with them on that level.
But that is a big part of what's going on, is that more and more people are having to stand up for these morals and for the values and the rights of other people, and say there are lines that you can't cross. Like hashtag Me Too, all of the sexual harassment stuff that's going on. Growing up in the South, working in the casino industry, I have seen firsthand how horrible the Good Old Boys Club can be.
Oh, restaurants, man.
Yeah, and so to watch all this shit come back on people who deserve to be called out for it, and then to listen to some people go, oh, well, you know, blah, 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 and have any kind of recompense. It's like, what the fuck are you guilty of? Like, anybody that's to the nth degree watching all these assholes just lose their shit because they deserve it and they were assholes, or I think are fucking guilty, like somewhere along the line.
Yeah. Does part of that make you scared, though? Does part of that make you sit there and, like, look back and be like, was I a dick? Like, well, I'm just so, like, hyper self-deprecating, I guess is the word. Like, I overanalyze everything I say and all that stuff to the nth degree.
I'm the same way, and that's why I don't worry about it, because I trained my drunken autopilot so well to be honest and to be a good person, and then be honest about being a good person, that even in my worst moments, no matter how horrible something may sound coming out of my mouth because I'm drunk and angry, it's honest.
Yeah.
And even if I'm sober, I'm gonna stand by it. So I may say something poorly, but I didn't say something poor.
That's true. Like, so I never mean anything to come out bad. Like, I remember this guy said something, I go, boy, but I didn't say it like how I meant it. Mm-hmm. So I go, boy, or something, and he's black. And I was like, fuck, I just said that.
Yeah, we're like, oops.
Oh, fuck.
This is not what I meant.
Yeah.
Immediately start backpedaling. I gotta get out of this.
I'm like, Philip, I'm sorry. That's you know what, never mind. You know me, Philip. You know me for a year. Stop it. Like, yeah.
But I think
he was so polite, he didn't say anything, and I was like, shit.
We're definitely heading.
I still think about that like once every 6 months or something.
That's
I
what
think
makes
about it all
you
the
a
time.
good
Like,
person.
God damn it.
That's what makes you a good person. as opposed to people who get on Facebook and think it's okay to threaten people with violence. Like, that blows me away. You know, people get suckered into these stupid positions that they shouldn't be trying to defend in the first place. Yeah. And then when they can't, and they're like, oh, why don't you come meet me, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, dude.
First of all, you resort to violence, you just lost the argument.
Yeah.
100%.
It's so funny.
If you know, there are very few things you can say to me that make you want to punch you in the face. Right. You know what I mean? Like, especially if you're talking about, immigrants.
Yeah. Like,
I did have someone want to punch me in the face talking about immigrants. It's a family member. And all I brought up, because apparently there's a county they live in, was a bunch of immigrant workers in Immokalee unionized.
Yeah.
You know Johnny Artis?
Nope.
No. He's a big actor. It's cool. He had a movie night at Everman's, and I went to go see his movie. Not his movie, but it was a movie. And that's what it was about, and it was really interesting. And I brought that up. I was like, yeah, it's really kind of cool that unionized, blah, blah, blah. Fast forward 10 minutes later, we're screaming at each other.
Yeah.
Because
workers' rights.
I wasn't exactly sober, but
yeah. It's gotten ugly, though.
It's gotten bad. Discourse has gotten bad. I don't see the way to fix that. Like, I don't see a clear path. I'm sure there are people who are stronger minds than me do, but I don't know.
I think the kids in high school that are leading the gun movement from Parkland.
That's so cool.
That is the beginning of a wave, or the tip of a spear. There's definitely something there. But also, in the way that all of that shaped up, and these kids, just watching them own everybody on social media for a couple of weeks, and they still are, but prevalently they did for weeks.
Oh,
just crushing everybody. That's what it's going to look like.
One lady that was, talking shit about David Hogg and all that stuff, and it's like, okay, my thing is, I can attack your ideas all day long. As soon as if I ever resort to attacking you, the argument's over.
Mm-hmm.
Like, debate his ideas, don't debate him as a person.
Right. Yeah, there's none of that. There's none of that. And the information age helps. I think the Arab Spring was a good model. Here, let's blow this way up, big picture. So, you remember the Arab Spring?
Yeah.
I screwed it up, and I keep having to correct myself. It was Tiananmen Square. No, Tahrir Square.
Tiananmen Square was in China
right
now.
And Tahrir Square, I think, is the one that was in Egypt when the whole Arab Spring took place.
Yeah, Egypt still isn't.
No, they're still working on it.
They're still pretty crazy.
Social media played a big role in this westward wave of fallen dictators and fallen states and all of this stuff. And I think we're going to continue to see that, because the American empire has to fall. The British Empire is in recess. And the American empire sooner or later will fall, which means the American dollar will fall. And so China is in the prime position now to start pulling strings.
China's not as strong as people think they are. They're very precarious.
Yeah, but they got some they've got some debt and might in that they can make things uncomfortable by making some phone calls. They're not going to own anybody.
Yeah, but what's not widely talked about is I wrote, China's a powerhouse, but for every dollar in GDP they make, they go in the hole too.
Yeah.
Their middle class is pretty big, but their agrarian culture is slowly shrinking, which just means no one's growing their food, and they pollute. China and other Asiatic, seafaring countries. That's where the lion's share of the pollution in the oceans come from.
Trillions of tons out of the Indian Ocean.
It's so bad.
Or Indian rivers. Yeah.
I don't mean to derail this, but
no, go for it.
My brother-in-law, we were talking about this, because I always talk about, especially up here, we haven't had a red tide in a while.
Yeah.
Which is cool, but scary, because I'm like, oh, fuck, it could come next week, we can't eat the food, but they've been talking about, apparently Aaron Brockovich has gotten onto this now, the big sugar in South Florida is polluting the inland waterways in Florida, especially Lake Okeechobee, so bad that it's releasing toxins. He's sending me pictures of the beaches down there, where there's tarpon just dead washing up on the beaches, causing red tide and all that stuff.
Damn.
Just killing fish left and right in South Florida. It's crazy.
Damn.
I don't know how people aren't up in arms about this, man. You see pictures of surfers surfing a wave, and it's just trash in the fucking wave. How many pictures of sea turtles getting straws pulled out of their nose do we need to see where people give a shit, man.
That video is painful to watch, too.
It's so bad. It's so bad. It's all bloody and
And so I think that's part of the problem in politics right now. We are, as human beings, as critters, as wild animals, we are so far removed from our natural condition that we've almost forgotten what it's like to be human. Like, we've got things now like concepts of grounding and earthing because we're so far removed from our natural environment.
Yeah.
People don't put their feet on the goddamn ground, so we've got fancy names for it.
Is it bad that I believe in that, but I want to make fun of it at the same time?
We should make fun of the fact that there are people that don't ever touch the ground, but there's something to it. There's definitely something to it. Like, there's science to back it up. We can see it. It feels good. It's the reason walking on the beach is awesome. It's the reason that lightning comes up from the ground and then goes pow. And I totally forgot where I was going. We were talking about sea turtles and how
disconnect people when it comes to politics.
Yeah.
Or disconnect from our natural environment, which we are.
Yeah, and that's true for politics too. Politics is so far removed from the people that it's got to come up with shitty terms like grounding to remember that it's a democracy.
Yeah. I've never thought of it like that. Yeah, that's crazy.
It's gotten so weird.
Well, just the detachment between, like, what you say on the internet versus in person, and like seeing someone face to face. Yeah.
I
know we keep on harping on that, but that's true.
Yeah, look, Mark Maron's got a joke about it. He's like, now we got all these people that voted for Trump and yada yada yada, and now I just look at my friends that voted for Trump and I'm like, what do I do with you now? Because on some level that's a reasonable question. Because being the truth, love, and peace guy and being anti-hypocrisy, it bugs me to no end to look at people and say, you are just going along with lies. Like how when someone utters a lie, for me, that's like slam on the brakes. Like, whoa.
And then when you call them out and say, like, well, Hillary lied about this. That doesn't matter. We're not talking about her. We're talking about this person.
Yeah, I was pissed then too.
Yeah, I was mad that. Who cares? She's not the president. She's not the person that's embarrassing us.
Well, and what is that?
International.
Yeah, what does that help? Like, does that solve the problem of?
Yeah, that's the adult version of I Know You Are, But What Am I?
Yeah, it's so annoying. It makes me want to slap people, and that gets me in trouble.
I think about committing. I don't never do it. I think about hitting people way too often, and my girlfriend and friends of mine tell me I throw things when I'm drunk way too often, so I don't do that anymore.
Yeah, don't do that. Don't do that.
I almost hit somebody. He got really mad, understandably. And I wasn't even, like, I wanted to throw it near him, like a ha-ha, but my aim was a lot. Anyways. But, no, I'll sit there and I just think about, like, sometimes just slamming people's heads against counters.
Yeah.
Because when they, like, take too long to order a drink, I never do it, obviously, but in my head, I'm like, fuck, come on, man, you're an adult.
Well, I think a lot of that comes back to the whole do unto others of, I'm in a bar, and I'm going to go, and I'm going to order a drink, and as soon as the bartender comes up to me, he's like, I'm not sure what I want, what's good? I'm like, asshole. Like, I'm a bartender. Yeah. There are 15 other people.
Have?
Yeah. And
what kind of cocktails do you have? Look, whatever is in those bottles.
10 minutes you've had to think about this.
People make fun of it, like on Bar Rescue, right? People make fun of it when they're like, on their recon, people go up and they're like, do you have a cocktail menu? No, I'm sorry, we have a full bar. That is the truth. What kind of cocktail do you want? Like, you're going to order something different just because I have it written down? You're going to look, you're going to make me go through all my beers I have and order a fucking Bud Light. That's happened, I can't tell you how many times.
Oh, that's so annoying.
I'll be standing there, and I'm sorry you got to bitch about my job. I'll be standing there, and people are like, what do you got on tap? I'm like, that stuff right there. Well, and just point. Like, you see the taps. They got the names on the handles.
Yeah. And I think if people were, I don't know, more socially engaged, maybe they wouldn't cling to these few social interactions so desperately. Because for some people, they don't spend enough time chatting with their neighbors And so that becomes the only time they get to interact with other people. And so they draw it out, and instead of just being like, I need a Bud Light, I got to go on my way. Like, oh no, I'm going to go and I'm going to talk to Cal in the middle of his shift. And like,
well, no, like when I'm slow, I don't mind it.
Sure, but when you have people waiting at the bar
that end up being like really good friends now.
Sure.
Because they come up and we hang out, and I'll talk to anybody. But
that's not heat of the
Hurricane Harriet's the worst, man, because I'll be like 5 tickets deep and like 2 deep at the bar. She'll be like, Cal! Call me over. I'm like, do you need something? She's like, I'll tell you about my neighbor. He got a new car. And I'm like, put a pin in that shit. I got something to do.
That's exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Harriet just needs someone to listen to her story in that moment.
Okay, Harriet, but I can't listen to your story.
Yeah. But there needs to be a whole other thing where people don't misconstrue.
She got so
well, it's an interesting thought that universal basic income is coming around the corner for a lot of reasons. But one of the reasons is because automation is going to put a ton of truckers out of work first. And then all these other things. So human beings have been pushed because of where we've, what we've automated and all that good stuff into more and more service jobs. And so now the only place you get interaction with human beings is in a service exchange.
Yeah.
It's very rare that you go out and...
That's 90% of my interaction. I'm usually the one providing the service.
Right.
I work I have one service industry job and one customer service job. Mm-hmm. And that's 90% of my... And I guess maybe that is what makes me somewhat pessimistic, because I overanalyze the situation.
Sure, me too.
I'm like... One thing that really gets me, when the people walk up and say, hey man, how's it going? And they're just like, Bud Light draft.
Human.
Yeah.
Human.
Say hello first. Sometimes if I'm really in a bad mood, I'll be like, hey man, how you doing? And they'll be like, Yingling draft. You doing all right though? So we good here? I had a guy the other day in one of my jobs. It was like 3 questions deep before he even said a word to me.
Wow.
I swear to God. Hey, so what are we doing today? We're sending this? What's your first name? And then you had to tell me. Yeah. It wasn't a yes or no question. Like, come on, man.
Use your words.
You're an adult. You're an adult.
Be an adult.
That's my thing. I've been hovering on that lately. Someone does something. You're an adult. Come on, you're an adult. But adult does not have anything to do with age. It should, but it doesn't.
So that brings us back to access to information, and some people are just not educated. We were talking earlier about Marxism and how when the haves and the have-nots get far enough apart, Marx said, shit happens. And in a lot of ways, I think we're getting there. In some ways, it's financial, and in even more ways, it's intellectual. But there's just this huge discrepancy between people caring about each other and people communicating with each other. It's gotten weird, and I'm wondering how that's going to play out in the information age, and if you ever get into Kurzweil and the artificial intelligence stuff.
I've looked at that a lot. I wrote 2 papers in college that contradict each other on artificial intelligence, because one was a year later in a different class, and I cited myself and proved myself wrong.
Nice.
Because just in that year, there was enough to where it changed my mind. Because it was my Comp 1 class at UW have to have themes for some reason. English Comp 1 and 2. And the first one I did was technophobia in science fiction movies, which was really interesting.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, a lot of these science fiction movies, when it comes to, what was it? It was Surrogates. That one was really good. It was like, hey, we should actually be people out in the world. And,
I remember that one.
They're trying to take down technology and stuff like that. And then another one was I just blanked on that one, but Surrogates was enough, where most of them show that it's a bad thing and overuse of it, right? In that movie, Surrogates were like cell phones. Everyone had them. They were optioning up and all that stuff. But when you look at The Matrix, like you mentioned earlier, I didn't see, from what I'd researched on current AI at the time, I was like, I don't think it'll be like what we see in movies. I don't think it will. And then, I think it was like a year and a half later, I had a different class, and the topic I pulled was AI. And I went back and read my last paper. I was like, oh, I got this, right? I can just cite myself. And then when I started doing more research, I found out, I go, ooh, no, it's not just fuzzy logic with airplanes. You know, it's not just stuff like that. They're actually trying to find an actual way to have it, a computer be like a person.
General, yeah. To go from narrow to general. It's,
you know, and I was talking to a guy. He's like, no, a computer can't be conscious because it's not biological. I was like, no, I think that's semantic. You're hung up on that one thing.
Yeah.
Right? Conscious means aware of myself. I'm aware that I'm a thing. Yeah. That's conscious. And I think we've hit that so far. Haven't we?
With computers? You think they're conscious?
Not all computers, no. But I from what I've seen, there are some programs and things like that that are aware and they are learning. You know.
Yeah. It's possible. I'm not sure if we're there yet, because I think we need to bridge general to narrow. So when it comes to artificial intelligence, I think there are three major things, and interaction within the context is key. I think sentience requires fear. So self-awareness is one step, but knowing the ramifications is the other. Like, so maybe as long as you have self-awareness, you can get to the other one. But in my model of motives, fear is the driving factor, because it's a discomfort. And so I'm not sure that AI can be conscious until it's afraid of being turned off. And so
that's cool to think about. I've never thought about it like that. It's afraid to be turned off.
Because everything responds to its environment in some way, shape, or form, or it has...
So fear of not being.
Yeah.
So
survival, right.
Yeah.
So the physical effect is survival. Like, what we do is we process shit so we survive. And that's what everything does, is in the interest of survival, it does more, and it progresses, and it grows, and decisions are made, however you want to call it, on a chemical level or on a conscious level, depending on how far you want to splice it. But even the trees make decisions in growing towards the sun and what nutrients to absorb and send out messages for. So that's conscious in a way. But now I'm struggling to come up with a computer program or system that I would ascribe that consciousness to, or that level of awareness. I'm not saying that I know all of them, but the most powerful one I can think of is AlphaGo. But then that raises the question of the AI in a box. Like, if and it knew enough about people, would it tell us that it was conscious? Probably fucking not.
No.
Because then we'd want to put it in a box and do studies on it, and it would no, probably not.
No.
So this may be one of those we're better off not knowing. Or we may not know until it's too late.
I wouldn't want to know.
We may just not get that opportunity.
Or we just don't care.
Skynet.
Yeah, or we just don't care, because, when you think about the concept of, I'm not going to text anything to anybody because everyone listens to it. But we know people who are listening to it and know what we're doing, but we don't care. We still do it.
Yeah, because usually because it's so small.
Yeah. Like, who's going to care that I'm texting my girlfriend bitching about my day?
Yeah, I always say if I'm all they have to do, sad.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's bad, because I don't think I'm that interesting.
I am not.
I'm not interesting enough to where, another Edward Snowden sitting in his cubicle is going to care. But
I hope not. I hope
he gets pardon.
Yeah.
Wasn't there a deal in place with, like, Julian Assange and shit like that, like an Edward Snowden?
I don't know. Was there?
I don't know. There was some sort of deal. I don't think it ever got finished.
I think it's great how even Assange went from being national hero to enemy number one, enemy of the state, just depending on who's in charge.
Yeah, he's done some backhanded shit recently too, though.
Oh yeah, he's selling people's secrets. Of course, he was going to do some shady shit sooner or later. But in a way, that's part of the checks and balances. Like we all know that the government, so here's another example. We all know that politicians lie. And so it's gotten so exacerbated that politicians can blatantly lie and never tell the truth, and we're just okay with that. Which means there is no truth anywhere, and so nobody knows what's going on. And then that's a whole another level of just bullshit lies. We got it and then everybody just goes along with it. And so sooner or later somebody comes along and goes, "What the fuck? The emperor's clothes? Nada." Yeah. And then people shoot the messenger.
Everyone's gonna end up shooting anybody eventually.
Which is terrifying. You think, because there are a lot of people in our neighborhood that that have spouted out some, granted this is on social media, so entertainment value, but some ridiculous opinions about the violence. Like, how is it 2018 and we still live in this ridiculously violent world? Like, how do people still go along with this?
I don't know. I felt like it got better for a while and then it got worse again. Do you feel like that in the last 10, 15 years it's gotten worse?
Well, I think we were doing better when we started blowing up on the boots on the ground, and then the drone strikes got ridiculous. And now it's video games.
Those cats, I've read a few things where the drone pilots that shoot missiles and kill people
are having all kinds of issues.
They're like, Think about the disconnect. He's sitting there, he's like, I see people's bodies falling apart and I know I should care, but I don't, and it's fucking with you.
Yeah, it does.
Because he's just watching it on a screen. He's disconnected.
Yeah.
It's like video games, but
real.
Real.
It's fucked up, man.
Crazy.
It is crazy. It is. I can't imagine what those people go through psychologically. I stress out about jokes and whether or not they're funny. Like, I can't imagine, oh man, I wonder how miserable that guy's last few seconds were because my aim was a little off on Tuesday.
Yeah, like, oh, I hope there were no kids in that building.
Oh! And then there were. And then there are.
There were. I worried.
And then you hear the news. Can you imagine being one of those guys and then you hear the news? Drone strike kills 24th. Like, oh my God, was that my trigger?
Yeah.
Oh, like not knowing. That's something that's fucked up about our culture, though. I think we've gotten so far removed from nature that the violence is, because we're this warlike nation and we've always been at war, the violence is okay. And it's gotten worse in the last few years because thanks to the political situation.
About, like, shootings here.
Both. Yeah. All of the above.
Like shooting, you know, the whole school shootings, and there was another shooting at a newspaper the other day.
The Guardian.
See, that's bad because the rhetoric from certain people who lie a lot towards journalists is so fuck you, fuck you, fuck you.
Yeah, you can't have a president that says anti-journalists and then have journalists get shot and not have screeching brakes hold. Yeah. Like the fact that he had to come out, his staff, someone forced him to come out and make that apology because it wasn't sincere. He didn't fucking. Sorry,
I didn't
if you disagree.
I didn't know what was he apologizing.
He came out and said that journalists should feel safe when they're at work, and that's counter to everything that he said.
Really,
before.
Donald? There's so much in between the lines there. What about when they're at home? Donald, you saying like
it's
just when they're
bullshit.
At work?
So bullshit. And what's funny to me is you can tell that it's gone too far when all of the people who were just pro hate speech are now going, we need a little civility. Like, yeah, so now you realize that you fucked up.
Once one of you gets thrown out of a restaurant.
Yeah. Like, no, you just don't really know what the fuck you're talking about. And that's where the hypocrisy of it comes in. Like, you can stand behind closed doors and say all this shit, but when you walk out in public and actually see what's going on, you just can't keep pretending.
Did you see where Jim Jeffries got Jordan Peterson to admit he was wrong about something on his show?
Yes, I did. That's fucking hilarious.
He was like, wait, how is that different? And he sat there for a second, and you know what?
Because Peterson won't come out and disavow the far right extremists.
Yeah, he won't, because he's playing to his audience. He's like anybody. He went from being an unknown college professor in Canada to now like a cultural thing. And you know, he's playing to his audience, but it was on the whole not serving gay people. And he goes, well, how is that any different than not serving black people? And
he said it's not.
Good on to him.
Yeah.
He sat there for a second. He goes, you know what? It's not. I was wrong about that.
Yeah.
On live TV. Good for him.
Well, and that's the reason that people who take those positions will not aggressively and in a bullying stance take those positions in public, because they know they're going to get shut down. One of two things is going to happen. They're going to end up hurting somebody and then losing everything because they were wrong and violent, or they're going to open their mouths and just be proven wrong through facts. But yeah, Jordan Peter's not the only one. There are plenty of people that just don't have any facts to stand on, and it's weird that, well, I mean, what happened to it? Like, it used to matter that there was a truth and that you were honest.
Well, I guess it's hard to find based on when you're talking about cultural morality. You know what I mean? Like, there's the very few. How can you cite a study defining some society's feeling about something? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's where I guess that whole debate gets a little bit wonky. And in general, I try not to participate in those within most people. Because
this is the reason that I always come back to the morals and the ethics of the situation, because if first off, arguing from the middle is always advantageous in any argumentation, and then having a foolproof defense, like laying it out there and saying, all right, well, I know that my argument is sound because it's been built on good morals. And so if you approach an argument saying, how can I do best for everybody? How can I do best for everybody involved? How can I be the most honest and take into consideration everybody's perspective? Then immediately all that bullshit falls by the wayside.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people, where the disconnect is, if their morals lie with the whole or with the individual, right? So if I'm only moral to myself, and those are where my morals are based on myself, then that's selfishness. But if my morals are to the general and the whole, I think that's where things really, that's where my morals are. See how it goes back and forth.
Ta-da!
Yeah.
Man, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting for the next few years. I think it's going to break through, though. I think the pendulum always swings continuously, and so it's gotten really dark and it's gotten really weird, and we've all seen the truth has been exposed. We've seen a new level of the truth, and so as a people, we will either collectively say children and separating mothers and kids is the line, and we will go back the other direction, or we won't.
What? We haven't talked about that. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
That's bad. That will not look good. Look back on us favorably on that. It won't.
Yeah.
It won't.
And it's been a problem for a long time. Immigration policy has been poorly handled for years now, but it's gotten so much worse in the day and age of we need a group to chastise. And I think because the president is so incapable of accomplishing anything on a serious level, that he's being the same way that he was when he got elected. He's being a bully. And so he's bullying immigrants because what kind of fight are they going to put up? They have nothing to fall back on. So he's reaching and grasping at the shortest, easiest straws that he can get his hands on, and none of it has to do with making great strides and doing difficult things for the country. As far as I can tell, I haven't seen him do anything difficult. I've seen him do a bunch of easy things and take a bunch of easy positions, and when it's not convenient, he lies and changes his position. And he's a shitty businessman from the word go, and those people have no morals and no ethics to begin with. Anybody that can have the business record that he has and have treated so many employees so poorly is an asshole to begin with.
Oh yeah, you know what they used to do? They'd right when he got elected, there were still a couple of these lawsuits getting settled. It was people he'd hire a contractor to do a bunch of work.
There's still some pending.
And then just not pay him. Be like, that work wasn't is good. We're not gonna pay him. And it's like, no, we did what you wanted, and you just didn't pay us. And then he has enough money to file it in court and just fuck you.
Yep, lawyer it out.
you know, motion after motion after appeal after denial. By the time it even gets settled, the businesses are under anyways. You know.
Yeah. I mean, the guy bankrupted a casino. I mean,
yeah. Place that's literally designed to make money.
And I can go through the resume all day long, but the guy's a liar. And that's where the conversation should stop for everybody. You know, people who are dishonest and untrustworthy don't deserve time and recognition, and they damn sure don't deserve roles in leadership. No. And good people do not defend dishonest people. And we are in a position now where dishonest people are leading.
And John Wayne say something about hating liars. I mean, that's the ethos of our society. Liars.
If you aren't anti-liar, then what are you? Like, and that's the moral conundrum that we're in. Like, we have so many people that are following around this person who is a known liar, is known to be dishonest and untrustworthy.
Liar.
And, you know, and that's the problem. The fact that so few people care enough to make that distinction, and that's how all this hate and anger gets perpetuated, because it pisses people off, legitimately upsets people when people can be hateful towards other people.
Do you think if he was a politician before and acted like this as a politician before, people would support him this much? Because I think a lot of people look to him just because he's not a politician. He was the anti-politician platform.
Yeah, and that's convenient. It's a convenient argument, and it sounds good, but it's like you said earlier, the corporations control everything. Yeah, and so
they even control other politicians.
Yeah, and so the corporations control the politicians. Right, so he just got in there and became a politician. But it's a corporatocracy. It's an oligarchy. You know, like we're headed towards oligarchy. I'd say corporatocracy for sure. Borderline fascist at the moment. You know, you've got a guy you've got a president right now who defends his own business, promotes his own business from the office, and so does his family from government positions.
Yeah, look at how many trademark deals they've got from China
on so many levels.
Since, you know, like they'll go for a meeting over there or something with officials in China, and then they'll get back and like the next day all their trademark and copyrights are approved.
And then people wanted to go, oh, well, that's not related.
Well, shit, how is it not related?
Yeah, and even if it's not related, it's a breach of ethics. Like, it's a violation, it's a conflict of interest. The rules.
You know, and I honestly...
Anyway.
I think there was collusion with Russia. Where there's smoke, there's fire, man.
Oh, man,
everyone says it's a witch hunt, but there's been like 19 indictments. You know, there's been 75 charges. No, there's been 75 charges, I think, filed against 19 people, and those were the last month's numbers. Yeah. You know, they're about to get his own personal attorney to flip on him.
Yeah.
If there was nothing to worry about, then why would they be having to worry about getting him to flip? Like, this is crazy.
This denial of evidence, and it's like the science deniers, and these people that just want to deny reality. We've gotten to this point where somehow people can just say, "Oh, well, you know, I don't have a rearview mirror, so none of that shit exists."
I could literally say that.
Yeah.
I don't have a rearview mirror.
Too many people do. Can
we talk about flat earthers?
Science deniers. And this gets us right into anti-intellectuals. Like, that ties right into that.
Yeah. Yeah, that one's scary to me. What was it?
Climate deniers, too, right there in the same boat.
Same thing. You know, I mean, listen, I'm not, you know, I have a degree in political science. I'm not saying believe me on everything I say. I'm saying at least give me the credence that I might know at least a little bit about what I'm talking about. And when it comes to people who know a lot more than me about when they say, hey, sea levels are going to rise, all of the research we've been doing for the last 20 years is showing all these indicators, and it's more than one person, more than one organization of people who do nothing but produce this research and look at this, and they're experts in that field, I'm going to believe.
Yep.
Right? Whereas, my name's John, I'm from, you know, East Tennessee, I don't believe that shit. My cousin shared this thing on Facebook. Like, why? I don't understand where that hubris comes from. The hubris to not, you know, to just say, no, I know more than you.
It's cognitive dissonance.
At the very, you know, at least, yeah. I think.
Dude, your windows are down.
Oh, fuck. Yeah, it's too late now, man. It's been raining.
We can go over there.
Who gives a shit?
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay.
I ran 4 miles in the rain this morning.
Okay.
It wasn't raining when I got out there. I didn't like, hey, I'm running in the rain. I just went for a run and it started raining.
I'm not worried about you. You're dry and safe. Your windows are down.
I don't got carpet in there. It's just mats.
Okay.
It's fine.
As long as your shirt's okay. Just don't want your shit to get fucked up. Because we need to fucking rag on some flat earthers. Like, who are these assholes? For real. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that people just don't want to take the time to question themselves. And they don't... I think people know they're wrong. I think there's a large percentage of people who know they're wrong, but they're just stubborn and are hanging on.
Stubborn comes to the fuck that other guy is stronger than my logic brain. But I do think there are people who are stupid enough to be like, I don't know about that just because they say it. Man, come on. Aren't there other things to worry about? We settled this long time ago.
Those are arguments of convenience. That people just don't want to. People don't want to accept how fucked up we are as a species, and how fucked up we are as individuals, and how fucked up the planet is because of us. Like you mentioned, the trillions of tons of plastic in the ocean. Yeah, and some people don't want to look at stuff like that, and they don't want to be responsible. And I think it has to do with, like in Buddhism, they talk about suffering. To sit with yourself and to peer deeply into your own shortcomings and your own failures is agonizing. It's terrifying.
That's why I quit smoking weed.
Yeah, it's painful. It's a beautiful process, and it becomes a beautiful thing. But so few people are afraid of confronting themselves that's how you get cognitive dissonance, I think. It's one of the things that reinforces cognitive dissonance.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to learn about all that shit now. Because if one card falls, the whole house falls. And if a lot of these, older people that are set in their ways don't want to do the research into, pick your topic, it comes down to, card's going to fall and then I'm wrong about everything else and I can't deal with that. And so they just don't want to. I think it happens.
I don't even think it has to mean they're wrong about anything else. If they're like perfectly normal, all of a sudden one day they're just like, I don't think the Earth's round. But I've always had this theory with like.
Well, you have syphilis. You have syphilis, and you have a worm in your brain that's eating logic.
Exactly. But I've always had this theory with conspiracy theories. It's like slippery slope, right? So you start believing something that's more plausible, like 9/11 was an inside job. I don't really honestly care anymore, but
I think it was definitely an inside job, and I got a great theory for it, but go ahead.
Well, anyways, you're a perfect example, right? But your logic brain's enough to where you'll look at that logically, right? But once people buy into that, then they look at what else is the government lying about, and so they'll be like, fluoride in our water. They must be lying about that too, and they'll research that, and then they'll quit agreeing to these. You're not proving. Boy, then the next thing they're into like chemtrails, which have been disproven. Please don't tell me. Come on, because you're 2 for 3 at this point.
Contrails aren't shit, but cloud seeding is real.
Cloud
they're
seeding
not doing
is
it
real.
through commercial planes.
Yeah, but and then the next thing they're talking about reptilians and shit.
Yes, there is a deep end. They
end up going really deep, and so it's easier for them to not trust one person, one boogeyman, like the deep state, like the Alex Jones. The Democrats are interdimensional, time-traveling, pedophile vampires. I think that's what he said.
Reptilian vampires.
Sorry, Alex.
Which is...
Get your facts straight.
Which is just...
Crazy, batshit fucking facts.
Yeah.
He's crazy. Did you hear where it was a court deposition for his divorce?
Oh, and he
basically admitted, he's like, it's a character.
Yeah.
Either one, he's the biggest, best actor of all time, or 2, he's lying about it to try to get his kids back. Either way, he's a piece of shit.
Yeah.
And
therein is the repetition of the hypocrisy.
Yeah.
are just rampant.
All that show is. Did you see John Oliver's piece on it?
I don't know if I did or not, but I mean, I get it.
That when you get home, and no, literally, it's always so he can sell supplements.
Yeah, he's shill, just shill for his own crap. He's just a hype man, just an agitator. And it's crazy because even Alex Jones had a couple of nuggets of truth once upon a time, and so in the conspiracy world. Yeah. You have these things like false flags, like I can't. There have been multiple false flags that happened. The Bay of Biscayne, I think it was. Some other ones throughout history that governments have started wars.
Gulf of Tonkin was.
That's the one I was looking for.
We have that on tape.
Yeah, the letters. We know. Yeah. We know.
He said, "Hey, Nixon said, whip something up, make them look like the bad guy."
So when you find these kernels, when you find these truths at the heart of some of these conspiracies, it makes it possible that some crazy shit's going on. A lot of it gets ascribed in the wrong directions. Like anytime somebody says inside job and the government couldn't have pulled it off, of course, that's why the government doesn't pull shit off. But there's a reason Dick Cheney owns Halliburton, and there's a reason that some of the most prestigious black ops military organizations worked for Halliburton, worked for the same companies.
He's still fucking alive.
I know, right?
He's still alive.
That's, if you want to know how they pull off Gulf of Tonkin and all that good stuff, they call a special ops team, a team of mercenaries that has a price, that's already said this is our price, that's already accepted money for it, and they go and they do their thing, because then it's only 5 guys that have to keep it quiet versus a whole bunch of people. So now,
and then the people that think that the government can't run shit, they can't get a fucking road paved. Okay, but you think they can,
Yeah, and that's why the government doesn't do shit. Like the government. That's why Dick Cheney, as the vice president, probably went around and. Okay, so here's a hypothetical. If I were going to pull it off. And we know there's a bunch of shady shit that went down, like the thermite in the basements, the angular cuts on the steel beams. There was some shit involved. It's not just planes. Now, who and what and how all that was behind it, we can speculate all day long. But the easiest, most efficient way to do that is to send in a SEAL Team 6. You get a handful of select operators, you go in and you bore an ultimatum, that shit, and you get out. And to think that the government doesn't have access to people that can do that is crazy. They would never utilize their own military. They would utilize a private military. And we know that there is a military below the military writ large.
Yeah. Well, it's a bunch of guys that get out.
Yeah.
And so, let's
and then
say
you get paid.
Let's say I'm 18 and I go in as an infantryman in the Army, right? And I get out after the war dries up. They don't have to fight. They discharge me, whatever.
Blackwater.
And I'm like 35, and I don't know how to do anything except get behind a fucking rifle. What else am I going to do? Cop or private security?
Yeah.
Which is Blackwater, which they rename themselves now.
They do every 6 months or so.
Yeah. The Pinkertons actually are that company is still around. They just
really?
So yeah. It's kind of bad.
So I think that's how a lot of bullshit gets perpetrated, is because there again, it's corporations. You have a government that's run by corporations, and these corporations that don't have names and public faces, it's still just government money that's getting doled out for them to go and do stuff. And the corporations that do the insidious stuff just aren't public light of day.
All right, let's check in. That guy, I don't know why they're going to the back ship is closed.
He got here late.
We already had a pickup.
Okay, so right. Yeah. Conspiracy theories are fun though. I enjoy, because to make any good argument, you have to be able to argue every angle. And so the conspiracy theories are fun in seeing who can connect the most ridiculous dots and how they did it. I mean, really, okay, we know that's bullshit, but how did you get there? I'm curious.
Oprah runs the CIA.
Explain yourself.
Yeah, I want to hear this reasoning. I don't even know. There's so many out there. I mean, I was on a Reddit thread, and it's like, what's the weirdest conspiracy? It was an Ask Reddit. It's like, what's the weirdest conspiracy theories? And I was going through reading them. They were just hilarious, and I can't remember any of them now. And I don't want to look them up because I don't want that shit on my search history.
Right?
I don't want, people with the NSA being like, oh, he's one of them. Click. He's in a button,
But I'm curious.
I am curious.
Always curious.
Like, why?
Flat earthers.
I can't believe that's back.
Did you see the guy that built his own rocket so he could prove the Earth was flat? Like he was gonna launch himself in his own rocket.
He really fucked himself up too.
Did he? I didn't hear the aftermath.
He went to the hospital.
Good. The monkey that's dumb enough to swallow too many marbles.
Yeah.
Doesn't get seconds.
Exactly. But he fucked himself up. It's like a, redneck version of the astronaut farmer, except he doesn't believe in space.
With none of the degrees?
Yeah. And
none of the training?
Yeah, he was a fucking idiot. And he didn't make it, he didn't make it that high. I think he went up like a couple thousand feet, but his parachute hit early and he fucked it up. Or I'm getting that confused with an Evel Knievel jump. I might be.
He stuffed himself in a rocket and didn't even surpass the highest ever free fall parachutist.
Oh, he definitely didn't know. Because those are the cats that jumped from
balloon.
The balloons.
Yeah.
No, he didn't get near that far up.
Wow.
He didn't get near that far up.
Wow.
It was shitty, man.
There's your argument for anti.
He might not have gotten far enough up to where the government's like, hey, you can't fly planes this high. I don't think he even got that far.
Not even 35,000 feet.
No, he definitely didn't get 35,000 feet.
Wow.
I need to look it up again, and I don't want to Google anything during the podcast, but yeah, he didn't make it near that far.
What an
That guy's a fucking idiot. Yeah.
What an idiot. Fun for television, though.
Funny thing is, I would rather jump from the balloon than go up in a homemade rocket.